everything is running smoothly. But so yeah, we'll be talking about the 5 different ways you guys can be getting on more stages with your books. But one of the key things that you guys want to think about first is, are you speaking on the right stages and are you getting in front of the right people? So think about who it is that you need to be reaching with your book, and then that's going to narrow down the stages that you should be appearing on, that you should reach out to. So that's just going to help you out with figuring out what are the best stages for you. So with that in mind, now we'll go into the 5 different ways you can get on more stages as a KDP author. The first strategy is to go local. So think about your local library. Sometimes restaurants are also a great option because they will want a reason for people to visit them during their down hours. And if you organize a speaking gig at their place and they help with bringing in people, that can also be a viable option. So you do want to think local when it comes to these things, because the local speaking gigs are just naturally going to be the easier ones to get. Event organizers, they want local people because they want to get the community involved, and it's just a good feeling, good type of atmosphere when you do have that local community. So think about those local speaking gigs. You can also partner up with co-working spaces, organize your own events. We're going to talk more about that later, but you definitely want to start by thinking local. The second thing you want to do to get more speaking gigs is to think about, how can you organize your own speaking gigs? How can you, get this venue, get the attendees, and those are really the only 2 things extra that you need to do. That is, instead of submitting speaking gigs and hoping you get lucky submitting the applications, you just organize your own events, get your own attendees, and this helps you with getting on more stages because you're going to have more video content of you speaking on stages. You are going to have more testimonials from attendees. So just having that edge, being able to organize your own events, is really big. We're going to get into that really soon. Jess, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us on this live. Really awesome stuff with your KDP books, and always a pleasure to see you around because you've been on a few different shows of mine. But anyways, with organizing your own local events, the first thing you have to think of is event venue. This is where a library can come into play. This is where a co-working space can come into play. And it's going to be different for each person. Some people, based on what niche they're in, they could just be more creative with what types of venues they pursue. But you do want to figure out how to contact the right person. Who is going to be that point of contact? So a lot of these places, they have a contact me page. Just ask them, like, hey, I'm interested in organizing an event here. I could bring some people here who, for a co-working space, who could become future clients, or who could become future customers, or get your books, or people from the community. Who do I get in touch with for organizing an event? So once you have that point of contact, you then build a conversation and you get the space and you confirm a time and day. Now, the really cool thing about this is you can do this anywhere. Like, being able to be local gives you that edge because you could do multiple events again and again, but you also have that edge of being able to do this in different locations all around the world. So I've been able to organize my own events and get attendees to fill up the spaces in Las Vegas and San Diego, even though I'm a New Yorker and that is the other side of the United States. So having this skill makes it easier for you if you want to travel, but you want to get that speaking gig in, or you're going to a big event and you kind of want to piggyback on those attendees and organize your event and get some of those people to come to your place. That is going to be really big for you for being able to organize your own events and fill up the place. Now, the only other thing is, of course, filling up the place. If you coordinate your event around another big event, that's going to make it easier for you to fill up the place. But some events that you are thinking of may not allow you to, organize a meetup like right afterwards, or you just got to make sure that the event that you have in mind, lets you do that type of thing. I know Podcast Movement, there are several meetups that happen throughout the event from other people who organize events just outside of the hours of the actual Podcast Movement event. So that's an option. But if you are not planning around another event, then what you can do is start a podcast, interview people who are from that area, and then ask them, hey, do you want to come? Do you want to bring a friend? Do you know people who this would make sense for? So one of the things you could do on LinkedIn, Jess, I know that you know a lot about LinkedIn, but one of the things you could do on LinkedIn is you can say, I want to find authors who live in Atlanta because I'm organizing an event in Atlanta. And the benefit of that, and you could do this in New York City, which would make more sense for me for doing a lot of local events, but by getting people from that location, being able to build communications with them, having some of them on your show, that's more people who could become potential attendees for your event, or tell their friends like, hey, this person is organizing an event in this area. Would you be interested in coming? So that is another great strategy for all KDP authors out there looking to organize their own events and get more speaking gigs that way. And, you know, when you have the video reel, that's just going to make it so much easier for you to go up to event organizers at other places and say, hey, I have spoken on this. People love what I have to say. I think I could be a great addition to your event. So in addition to organizing your own events, and in addition to interviewing people who could become attendees for your events, you can also interview on your podcast event organizers. So I've interviewed a bunch of event organizers, built relationships with them, and that is one of the ways that I get on a bunch of different stages. So that's going to be the third tactic here. Pretty much interview people on your podcast strategically, not just people to go to your events or event organizers. You could also interview other speakers and build your network that way. Because if you interview speakers who they publicize every speaking gig they get, that's going to be a whole bunch of new speaking gigs for you to get next year or in a few months, because a lot of events, they do annual events. So if these different speakers are coming on Facebook and saying, I just got on this event, this is the place where I am now speaking, put that on your list of events to reach out to next year if that is an annual event. And the more speakers you know, especially more speakers in your niche, the more of these types of events you are going to come across. So the next thing you could do, tactic number 4 for getting more speaking gigs as an author, is to create your own YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel, it's one of those platforms that demonstrates to people you can speak to an audience, you can engage with people. And if you produce high quality videos, that's going to give the event organizer an idea of what kind of person they could expect at the event. So as you get better and better at video, this is just going to help you with being able to demonstrate your ability to be a successful public speaker. It's just as important to demonstrate that you can get the job done as it is to actually submit the speaking applications and truly speak to that event organizer and the attendees that they're looking to gather, rather than just, this is my speaking gig, I feel like I'm awesome and would be a great fit for your event. So it's important to present yourself the right way to event organizers. It is just as important to demonstrate that you can be an effective speaker through video content like a YouTube channel. So that's going to be my recommendation for a lot of people. And my favorite way to find all these different public speaking gig opportunities for getting on more stages is to use Google. But we're not doing the, social media marketing call for speakers. We're not doing that. That's a good strategy in itself, but what you get with a lot of those is you get the super big events that are extremely competitive, the ones that you know. So For instance, like Podcast Movement, I mentioned them already. That is the place to go for podcasters. But there are some events that maybe they're just looking for 1 or 2 people to speak about podcasting, or they're just looking for that one social media marketing person instead of like these super big events that, everyone wants to speak at. But, if there are events everyone wants to speak at, then everyone's also submitting an application. So one of the Google searches that I love to do is I'll take a speaker's name in my niche and I will put that speaker's name in quotes. So when you put something in quotes on a Google search, you only get search results with that specific person's name or that specific keyword. So if you want to search quote conferences, then all of the Google search results have to have the word conferences in it. So if you search for a person in your industry, you put the word "and" outside of the quotes, and then you quote conferences, then now what's going to happen is you are going to see a bunch of search results that only show both the person's name and the word conference. So the reason this is such a great strategy is because you get to see what are the events, what are the conferences that this person is speaking at. Now I'll use an example for me. I will put that in the chat for you guys to see what I'm talking about. Let me just make sure I spell things correctly. Okay, so Marc Guberti and conferences. So if you search that, you will see, you will see, if you search that on Google, you will see all the things that say Marc Guberti and conference. Now, the thing with this is I've ran at a lot of track meets and stuff, and those are called conferences. So if you find like some like Gary Vaynerchuk and you want to see all the conferences that he's spoken at, you would do Gary Vaynerchuk in quotes, you would use the word and you would use the word conference, and that would help you with figuring out all the different conferences he's spoken at. It would help you with figuring out what are the different public speaking opportunities that are available to you. You can change the word conference to association. You can change the word to event. The only thing though is if you do like Gary Vaynerchuk quotes and then quotes speaker, then you're also going to get all the podcasts that introduce him as a speaker. So that's why I'm going to, if you do that Google search strategy, I would strongly encourage against just using the word speaker. This is just my favorite way to find a bunch of speaking gigs, because you could do this for one person, go through a bunch of the different events that they have spoken at, and then just do this with another person and keep continuing the process. But in any event, you still need to demonstrate to people that you are going to be that stage presence for them. That is why I do recommend, a YouTube channel or just organizing your own events, being able to get those public speaking gigs on demand by essentially being the person who organizes the event and says, oh, I choose myself to be the speaker, because that is going to help show to event organizers that you can talk about the topic, that you are a great speaker. And once you demonstrate that to people, that is going to get you some yeses. And as you get more yeses, as you get more footage, and as that builds, that is going to be something that really accelerates your public speaking career. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you aren't already, definitely make sure you subscribe. We've got a few people who are watching right now. So thank you guys for joining me. And thank you so much also for people watching in the replay. Anyways, dream big, achieve greatness, and unlock your potential today.